how mad I get with myself. Stresses me out. It took me so long. But anyway, just waiting for my camera to focus. Guys, hello. I'm here. Why is it when I'm further away you don't want to know me? Hello, Yow Lot. How am ya? Good. So, today I realised that I haven't made a full video about why I became vegan. I haven't dyed my hair, by the way. This is a wig. I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather, so my hair's a state. I just thought I'll whack a wig on. It is synthetic, no worries. I was thinking that if people found me randomly, they might want to know why this random person on their recommended became vegan. And although I do speak about it, I spoke about it on my lives and on my ASMR channel, little bits, mainly on my lives, it's not in one place, so it's not easy for people to find it out if they wanted to. So I thought I'll just make a video and then it's all in one place if people are curious. And yeah, so I gotta be honest, I'll start with my ignorance towards it all. So I've always been an animal lover, and I worked with one person a few years ago that was vegan. Actually, I worked with two people. Where do I start? Do I start with why I wasn't vegan previous, how long it's taken me? I mean, I'm 30 now. Yeah, let's go way back. Okay, so the first person that I knew personally that was vegan was at a workplace, and that was a few years ago. I'd never ever really met a person that was vegan in real life before, only ever heard about it on TV and things like that, and there was a lot of negativity around veganism at that time. So yeah, I'd never really met anyone. I just knew bits from people sort of hating on it, I guess. So, you know, the more you hear of a certain thing, negative or positive, the one you hear most, you're gonna go towards, you know? So yeah, I wasn't negative towards anyone being vegan. It was just not anything that I wanted to do. It's not something that I was interested in. Again, but I'll explain this. So, I sat by her a few times and we got talking. She never once told me like she was vegan or anything like that. She mentioned it once when they were ordering pizza, and she said, "Look, I'm vegan, so I don't want it. Or can you get one that's suitable?" So yeah, and then we got onto the topic, and I can't remember what I said to her, but I probably just flushed it off like, I'm not bothered. I thought that I needed meat, so I was like, oh, and I was a little bit scared, I'm not going to lie. Now I think back, I mean, at the time it was ignorance, but I think back and I was like, well, what would I eat? But instead of asking those questions and asking her, what do you eat? I was just like, nah. So yeah, and instead of doing my own research, but actually, when you research veganism to start with, you'll get a lot of negatives to why you shouldn't become vegan. It's only as you keep searching, you find more positive things as well. So yeah, that's the first person that I ever met that was vegan, and it didn't even influence me in the slightest, this conversation that we had. Unfortunately, I'm still friends with her now, and she knows I'm vegan now. Then I met another woman at another place, and we had more in-depth conversations about it. But again, she was a vegan on her own. in a workplace full of meat eaters, so that must have been so hard, especially if like she ever talked about it, because we'd all be like, it's a bit much, like it's a bit an extreme diet and things like that, when really it's because we didn't know any better. And also, I didn't want to give it up. I've got to be honest. I was scared to look into it because I didn't want to give it up. I didn't know what else I would eat. So yeah, right. So move on to years later. So this, I wasn't bothered. I'm just telling you now what I feel like. But, you know, at the time I wasn't bothered. I was just like trying to, because I'm an animal lover. I've always said that I was an animal lover. I hate to see animals tortured. I don't know what fairy tale world I thought this steak, how it was ending up on my plate, you know. I was just like, I didn't even think of it as an animal, even though I knew it was an animal, if that makes sense. It was just, I don't know, it's so hard to explain. My brain, I think everyone knows though, your brain just doesn't think of it as an animal when it's there. You don't think about it, you just eat it because it tastes good, you know. You're not thinking where it came from, what they've been through or anything like that. You're not thinking about that. So, and it's crazy to me now because I'm like, how did I not? Because I know what I'm like with animals. How can I respond to watching that on TV when, like, you know, dogs are being beaten or they're used in dog fighting, and cats are like strays and suffering and things like that, and that kills me. I'm like, oh, I wish I could do something. And then I'd eat a chicken. It's so weird when you think about it. So yeah, then it was more, I mean, I've been vegan now since May 2020, 2021. Are we in 2022 now? I don't even know. 2022 we're in now, aren't we? You can't even confirm. You're a camera. No, but let me check because I don't even know. It doesn't want to know. No one wants to tell me the date. 2022. Way, we got there. So yeah, May 2021 is when I became vegan. And this is what happened. So I met a friend, good friend now, Raina, official Raina Tamrin ASMR, she does ASMR, in a group chat. We met through some collabs, and yeah, I made a good group of friends, and Raina was vegan. And what I love about Raina is she's not scared to tell you how it is. I love that because, you know, some vegans tend to not say anything because they are scared they'll come across preachy, and I think a lot of people take it as preachy because they feel the guilt. So they're like, oh, they're preaching at me, when actually they're not, they're just telling you. But you're taking it that way because you feel the guilt. Now, I only know this now because that's how I'd feel. So I'd be like, constantly trying to defend why I ate meat to Raina. And obviously Raina was just telling me why she didn't. And you get defensive, like, and I notice this in people now because I know what I was like myself, and because I'm a new vegan, I can still see it. I know what I was like. I haven't forgotten what I was like. So, yeah. The more Raina was saying, the more I was thinking about my decisions. The more I was like, well, actually, how is it any different if I'm participating in that? But I wouldn't like to see a dog suffer that way, or any other animal at that matter. Why now am I allowing this? And, you know, so I'd think about these things, but then obviously the only person I had to ask around me at this time, because it was lockdown, because I mean, we've been talking for a few years now, so it's been a process. So I would ask my husband. My husband's a meat eater, and he isn't as connected as animals as I am because he didn't grow up with animals like I did. So like, he didn't really have that connection, so he doesn't really. He would again defend the meat, so that's all I had was Raina's opinion, and a meat eater's opinion and lots of other people's like meat eater's opinion, like that's all I heard. So it's like, oh, but then I would be interested in what Raina had to say. So, and the more she would say, the more it would like sink in, and the more I would think about it. But then obviously still eat it. So it was at this turning point. This was the turning point for me. I sat there and watched. Everyone's gonna know our Bailey Sarian. She does Murder Mystery and Makeup Mondays. She's amazing and we all love her. Well, anyway, she did a video on Ed Gein, and he used human flesh to make furniture. Yes, you'll have to, I mean, I had to Google it because I'm curious. And he's very, the right word, sick but artistic. I mean, when you see them, you're like, you're kind of like, wow, but then you're also like, that's a human. Like, it's a weird reaction because, so I Googled it and then I was like, shit, that looks like bacon. And these were human faces on a chair and human faces on a lamp, and the texture of it reminded me of bacon. I was like, what the fuck? And then it clicked that actually they do say that humans taste like pork, right? Like they say that's when cannibals have eaten humans, they say it tastes like strung pork. When you touch pigs, they're very tough skin and they grow hairs like us. Like they are just very, very, very similar to humans. Their hearts, you know, they're a lot like a human heart. So this, I know it sounds weird, but that video for me was where I stopped eating bacon and sausage because I could not see anything different other than a human. I was just like, it literally just looks like human flesh now after I'd seen that. I couldn't get it out of my head, so I was like, no, I can't eat that anymore. So I stopped eating sausage and bacon for around, I don't know, it was probably about 3 months before I went fully vegan. At which point I was doing more research around veganism and things, because obviously I was talking to Raina at the same time as all this going on. So I was starting to do more research, and I also found that, like, I don't know, by doing more research I realised things that was happening in my own body. So I know it sounds stupid because obviously these things happen, this has been going on the whole of my life and I've only just realised, but the thing is, if you've had something the whole of your life, you don't realise that it's a problem because you've lived with it, so you're like, well, it's not really a problem. But I always had like stomach issues, and I was starting to notice it was when I ate meat. So if I had like minced beef in shepherd's pie, I would have a bad belly, and I was thinking maybe it's the vegetables. It wasn't. Obviously, I'm fine now. I have the best digestive system I've ever known. I don't even get bad stomachs anymore. It's the best. Actually, apart from when I eat too many green lentils, then I get a bad stomach. But otherwise, I don't have a bad stomach 3 times a week, which is amazing. Sorry, we're getting dehydrated fast because I've got a bad cold. Well, or allergies, I'm not sure what it is anymore. Well, anyway, that's a whole different story. My husband had COVID. I was testing negative, but have been ill. And now I don't know if it's still that, or whether it was cold in the first place, or whether it's just allergies because it's springtime. I'm getting off the subject. Anyway, so yeah, I was doing more research, and I was finding out when my stomach would be bad, so I started to cut out little bits of meat and still eat most. And then one day, I was talking to Raina, And I was asking her questions individually. I think I wasn't in the group chat. I was talking to her about like what sort of things she eats, you know, talking about deficiencies and things like that, and where she started, like, you know, what diet she started with, and how will I know that I'm eating the right vitamins and things like that. Because I mean, on a meat diet, I was probably deficient in most things anyway, because I wasn't eating a lot of vegetables either. So because I was so full from a lot of meat and very sugary filled things. So yeah. Another thing I was worried about was if I did allow myself to watch what these animals were going through, because I knew for a fact if I was gonna leave meat alone and dairy, I'm gonna need to know what these animals go through, because otherwise I am just gonna live ignorantly and not care. I'm just gonna carry on because I don't know how this meat is getting there. You know, I'm not making the net connection because I don't care. That was my feeling at that time. And I'm just being honest, and I think it's important for us all to be honest with ourselves of why we just carry on eating meat. So yeah, that was why, because I didn't know any different, and because I was being selfish, and it was an easy way. It was an easy way. I knew what, even though my diet wasn't the best on a meat diet, like what do I think I was losing? I don't know. It's mad. Well, obviously now I know that it's crazy, but at the time I didn't. So how mad I get with myself stresses me out. It took me so long. But anyway, so yeah, what I decided to do was I sat on my phone on my settee, and it was an afternoon, and I'd done all my filming for my ASMR channel, and I just thought I'm gonna Google the meat industry. I'm gonna Google some things, and I was also told about Ed. Let me see. And I watched his video, and he made me think. That's very what's his name now? Earthling Ed. And I watched a video that he made. Raina recommended him, so I thought, right, I'm gonna watch this. And he used to be a meat eater, and he made a lot of sense. And I was like, thinking about it, you know, if I had to kill the animal myself, could I then go ahead and eat it? Which, unless I was starving, which I'm not, which a lot of us aren't, I wouldn't be able to kill that animal and then eat it. I couldn't. So I thought, well, why would I put someone else through that? Now, I know they make profit from it and that farmers make profit from it, but nobody wants to kill an animal. Think of how much they have to block out to sleep at night. That's not very good for mental health. It can't be. So, you know, it's a bigger picture, not just what's on your plate. These are things that I found out doing more and more research. You know, it doesn't just happen in a day. I've been doing this now since May, so I'm finding more and more out. But I decided on that day after watching Ed, and I also watched a woman cry because she didn't want to kill an animal on the farm, because, like, you know, it had a really sweet personality and she was absolutely gutted. And I watched her cry, and her dad had to do it in the end, and I was just like, what a shame. Like, I know that it's just a cry, she's gonna be all right the next day. That's her job. She has to be, you know. But it sits with you, you know, when something like that's happened. it sits with you and you remember it now and again. You know, she's never going to forget that moment. That's going to pop up whether she likes it or not. So yes, and someone at that, not even realising what had just happened, someone just ate it like it was nothing. It's mad, isn't it, that? You wouldn't even thought of the day that she had as a farmer. So yeah. So after watching Earthly Ned and that video, I also watched a more humane way of killing. So the animal is still put in a box. You could tell the fear on this animal's face. Whether, you know, you like to admit it or not that they have feelings, you can see that he's a bit shifty, can't move, or she's a bit shifty, she can't move because she's in this tight box. And then she's electrocuted. Bearing in mind, when they're electrocuted, they're just stunned, they're not dead. And then it was hung up by its legs, still shaking because the nerves, and slit at the throat. Blood's then drained, and she then went on to explain that she has to get the room fully cleansed because another animal that is then going to be brought in will sense and become fearful because they can smell the blood. So they have to make sure that that is completely clean before they get another animal in, because they know the animal will panic. So what does that tell you? You know, it's just... And most farms aren't like this. Slaughterhouses, whatever. Most slaughterhouses aren't like this. They won't care if this animal is shitting itself. They're literally going to beat it so it gets in. They're not bothered. So after watching this, you know, watching the worst of the worst, so all in this one day, I watched chicks being thrown into an incinerator. I watched a more kind farm do what they do, and which is very, very rare that you get those type of farms. So, you know, if you are trying to be a little bit more humane, make sure you know where it's coming from. She did also, you know, she was honest, and she did also explain that some of their pigs come beaten because pigs are clever and then also stubborn. So a lot of the time, so if they don't get in the truck, they are beaten. So yeah, after watching all of that and educating myself on what it's really like, I don't want to be a part of something getting abused just for it being on my plate. It was right then that I decided I was not going to eat meat or dairy again. I mean, I never really bought fur anyway, any sort of... Again, I wouldn't buy fur, but I would buy leather shoes. Fuck's sake. But yeah, I would try and buy like the faux leather jackets though. I've never had a leather jacket, not a real one. But my shoes were leather. So yeah. I haven't gone back since. I made a few mistakes because obviously it was a new diet to me, so, and packaging in shops can be confusing. I thought corn mince was vegan. It's not, it's got egg in. So for anyone else that's making that mistake, it does have egg in, and you do have to just check all the ingredients. It ain't been easy. It's been quite a difficult journey, and with the dairy industry, obviously, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know a cow needed to be pregnant before she got milk, but of course, like, I don't have milk unless I'm pregnant, so why would I think an animal would? What made me think it was any different. And it's not like they just have sex when they want to form a baby. They're forced into it, both bull and cow, because the bull has their sperm extracted with a tool. Yeah, imagine that, lads. And then it's inserted into a female, and then the females, after they've given birth, so imagine this, ladies, you've carried your baby for 9 months, you know how stressful that is, you know how shit you feel when that's going on, then you have your baby taken away. And they do get depressed. They've seen that. Some people say it's hormonal, but what is depression? It's hormonal. It's all hormones. That's how our bodies work. So, of course, they're depressed. And, of course, it's hormonal. That's not an excuse. So, yeah, they have their babies taken away. They then suffer. So, yeah, after watching it all, I just thought I don't want to pay into that anymore. I don't want to encourage it. And I know some people say, but they wouldn't have had a life at all. But they would have. Like, we know everything on this planet has a way of existing. You know, they have a way to survive. Everything on this planet just wants to survive. And, you know, it's an awful existence to be tortured, to be fed stupid amounts just to get huge so it can feed all of our taste buds. They would choose life over being killed because we all have a fear. If a chicken knows it's in danger, it's going to run or it's going to attack. If a cow knows it's in danger, it's going to run or it's going to attack. If people are worried that cows and sheep and pigs aren't going to be around because humans aren't looking after them, one, we're not looking after them, we're torturing them, and two, they will find a way. There probably won't be thousands and hundreds of thousands, we don't need that many. The planet they'll survive, you know, there will be a select few that will survive, they'll adapt, they will, it's nature. We don't have to interfere with everything. There's some bugs on this planet that have been here longer than we have. And we're concerned that nothing will survive without humans. They will, they'll be fine. They'll be better off. So yeah, there's my little rant. Anyway, but that is why I became vegan. Because I did my research and the animals are more important than my taste buds. And it's done me a favour, honestly. I feel loads better, apart from obviously I'm ill at the minute. So yeah, that was the reason behind it. Ed kind started it, and seeing the torture that these animals went through finalised my decision. And I'm glad I watched those things. And I know some people can watch it and carry on eating, but I guess I have more of a conscience. I can't. Because all I think about now when I see it is what the animals have been through to get to that. What the farmers have been through to get to that, not just the animals. And I watched, like, don't get me wrong, I watched Clarkson's Farm while I was vegan. And it was interesting because he was absolutely gutted that he had to take some sheep to be killed and how quick they got it over and done with. But then the weird sick part, he ate it afterwards and said how nice it was, which was a bit weird. But I guess, you know, he's got an old-fashioned view and he's had that psychology, droned into him that meets the answer. But you could tell how absolutely gutted he was. He even said how nice they were. It's so weird. And it's not his fault. It's just what we're taught. To a vegan diet. No, but I mean, don't get me wrong, I did go straight into it. Maybe consider things that you do enjoy and try and find a good alternative, because obviously it's probably not going to taste the same. Some things do, they are getting better, but at least that thing hasn't been tortured. At least that hasn't had someone cry beforehand. At least it hasn't damaged them emotionally for a day or two, It's mad that it's millions and millions of animals every day as well. Because there's millions and millions of people. Although it's vile to see and it makes me feel sick sometimes watching what these animals go through, it also keeps me away from going back down that route. I mean, I know I will never be able to eat an animal again. I know that now because my mindset is just completely different. I think of these animals like I think of any other animal. Any other living thing. No, I don't think of it as any less. And I don't think of things as only being here for us. So yeah, in summary, I had a few conversations with people that are vegan. I googled Ed Gein and his creepy work, and I watched animals go through hell to get on our plate, and that was when, on that day, I decided to never eat it purposely again. And, I just want to also say that just because a vegan is telling you why they went vegan, or why they don't eat meat, or why they don't want to hear how nice your meat is, it's not because they're being preachy. It's because a lot of people don't know what these animals go through. And yes, you might not want to listen, but if you don't want to listen, to me that just says more about you, because you're still trying to deny what's actually going on because you can't handle that. Like you don't want to know because you like it, and you don't want to know what the animal goes through, which says it all for me. Like, and me, I was the same. And I say this because I was exactly the same. I used to do this and I wouldn't watch them because I was like, well, I don't want to stop eating it. That was my selfish want, because, I mean, the weird thing is, I could never wait inside a butcher's because I hate the smell of raw meat. I've never been able to touch raw meat. I hate the feel of it. And yet I would still eat it. It's baffling to me, but it's because it's all psychological. We're taught that these things are good for us. We're not taught what the industry is. They don't happily show you that on TV. This is where your beef comes from. They don't show you the slaughter of it because they know you wouldn't eat it. They show you a cow happily grazing a field, which is not the truth of it. Do you know? No, I know. I was the same. It takes time. It does. It takes time, and it takes conversations over and over and over again, and it takes a few eye rolls and a few, oh my god, she's so annoying, to get it finally in. But when it's in, there's no going back. So take as long as you need. You'll see, you'll see. It's hard. We know it's tasty, don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't want a mom cow separated from her baby or forced into pregnancy just for me. How depressing! But also, the light at the end of the tunnel is I don't have a hand in torturing animals anymore. And I'm happy about that. And I'm really happy to share my story. I'm really happy to share my knowledge, and I am finding new easy recipes and things like that. I'm trying to be healthier in general, and the vegan diet is helping. So yeah, I saw the light. Ta-da! Saw the light. Never really though. So yeah, that's my story of why I became vegan. I think that's enough of a ramble. I think I've covered everything, hopefully. If you have any questions, ask down below. But yes, I'm not a perfect vegan, and I'm still learning. I'm very new to it all. So that's it from me today then. Take care. Bye bye.